Hi, everyone. Welcome in today. We're so glad that you took the time to join Planoly and Simple Pin Media today for our Planoly Presents workshop festive feed. So as we are all joining the workshop, I know we have people all over the world. So if you could go to that chat box and let us know where you're joining in from and make sure that it's to all hosts, panelists, and attendees, just so everyone can kind of get to know each other and see where everyone is joining in from today. We have all over already: Charleston, Mexico, France, Italy. Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. I know it's all different times for everyone, so we really appreciate it. Well, I will get started with our little intro. So if you've never joined a Planoly Presents before, welcome. We're really excited to have you join us for this because it's a really great time for you to learn all about social media marketing and really work on your business. So thanks for joining us today. But Planoly and Pinspirational Holiday started about a year ago whenever we wanted to really just connect with everyone and continue to teach everyone while we were all at home. And so as things are changing and growing, we want to keep doing that as well. So Inspirational Holidays came all around because we know that everyone has focuses on different social media marketing platforms and trying to find where all of their customers are. But one that we think is really important is Pinterest. And that's because it's kind of like a search engine. People go there to find ideas, find different things. But that's also how they can discover brands. They can discover your ideas, your products, everything like that. So we really want to dive into Pinterest this season to teach you how to best utilize the platform for all of your marketing needs. So if you have also never been with Planly before, we are a social media um, planning platform. And so we mainly focus on Instagram. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that we also have a pin planner platform. And so what this is going to be a dashboard where you can plan all of your pins out. You can upload all of your content. So if that's reusing content, if that is new Pinterest content, you can go ahead, upload all of that to your dashboard, have it over there, and then you can schedule it and you can choose a day that works for you, works for your schedule, and then plan everything out: title, caption, board, anything. And then get it scheduled and set away. So that way, if you have one day to get all of your Pinterest content kind of scheduled and ready to go for the entire month, then you can do that. And you don't have to worry about Pinterest for the rest of your month if you don't want to. So it's a really cool tool to help you add Pinterest to your marketing mix in a really easy way without having too much work. So if you're interested in joining Planoly and adding Pin Planner, it is free on any plan, or it is on any plan. So if you don't want to commit to it, if you just want to try out Pinterest, you're still kind of figuring out where it fits into your marketing mix, you can definitely sign up for a free account. Um, and then if you want to add it to another account, then that is also great. And we have 1 month free pin planner for all of you attending today. So Peyton just dropped that into the chat box with the code as well. So make sure to sign up for pin planner so that after this workshop, when you have all of this great new knowledge and you know how to strategize all of your pins, you can get planning and get sharing. So as we get started on the workshop, just have a few notes. First of all, the chat box is there if you want to chat with other people, if you want to agree with an idea that Kate has, if you kind of want to give your own input. We're really excited for this to be really engaging and interactive. But if you do have a question, please make sure to put that in the Q&A box. So that Q&A box is on the right side. And make sure to add any questions there because I will be back at the end to help answer any questions with Kate. But yeah, so as we all get started, if you do want to network though, we do ask to keep the chat box clear of networking because we really want to focus on Pinterest and your strategy right now. So if you'd like to network with each other and everyone in this workshop, make sure to go to our Facebook group and we will have a post ready for y'all to all connect with each other. But as we get started, if we could have Kate join us and we will get going. And as I mentioned, we will have the Q&A at the end, so add any questions there. Kate is the founder and CEO of Simple Pin Media. So she has her own company. She started in 2009, where she started with Pinterest strategy for brands. And since then, it's now 40 women running Pinterest for over 100 companies. So really incredible, really great knowledge that I'm excited that we get to have Kate on today to share with all of you. Are you ready?
I am ready. Thanks so much,
Awesome.
Sarah. Okay, so I'll dive in and just say right away, like Sarah said, I have Simple Pin Media, which is a Pinterest management and marketing agency. I started it on a hope and a prayer that I would make money. We were super poor, living on food stamps, and Pinterest was something that I dove into. And since then, I've been committed to educating myself on how to teach people how to do Pinterest in a way that makes it really attainable and easy to understand. Because my philosophy is that your business has a lot of parts to it, and Pinterest is just one of those parts. So I want to give you an understanding and an overview first of Pinterest so that you can figure out where it factors into your marketing for your business, and then go into images and keywords, and then this whole idea of holidays. It is really, really important that you understand how pinners use the holiday cycle and you get out in front of them before they start searching, when they start saving, so you can show up in their feed. So, with that, I am going to go ahead and share my screen and pop over to our slides so you can have a visual of what I'm walking through here. And I think we're pretty good to go. All righty. So, number one, the main thing you need to understand about Pinterest is there's kind of these three habits. People go to Pinterest to mindlessly scroll through that home feed that you see, and then they save pins for later. They want to plan, they want to solve problems, they want to dream into the future. And the joke that I have is that pinners kind of don't care about you. They're not really interested in you. They're interested in what you offer, the benefits of your products, the benefits of your content. So they save things that make their life more enhanced, that make their life better. And then they have a third habit where they search. They're very intent on searching for exactly what they want, whether it's a vegan beauty product or an amazing fall outfit. They're very intent on finding exactly what it is. And then they go back to that middle thing and they save it for later. So this is a really great diagram that Pinterest gave us of the pinner's mindset so that you can understand what I referenced just a minute ago about that planning before the holiday. So people go to Pinterest 3 or so months, maybe even 6 months before they intend to take action on something. So the example we have here is like a hiking trip, right? They go to Pinterest, they search hiking tips, hiking locations, what to pack, essentials, all of those things. And then a couple weeks later, or not a couple weeks later, right before their trip, a couple weeks before their trip, they start to purchase those products. They go back to the board and they reference all these products that they want. And then they buy them, they get ready for their trip. And then they go to Instagram and they say, hey, look at me, I'm on my trip. So what this does is it really articulates the habits of pinners, that they're thinking about what products to purchase for the holidays right now, 45 days in advance of an event. So that means if you want to talk about your products or your content that is holiday related, you got to get out in front of it. You can't do it the day before Thanksgiving or the day before Halloween. Everybody has already made their decision on Pinterest and found what they're looking for. Now, I want to really go back to that point of what I said of pinners don't care about you. And this is an example of Instagram is not Pinterest. And we're going to talk about a proper way to repurpose your Instagram content. But I really want you to understand that when people go to Instagram, they're really ready to get lost in your life. And if you have products, they tend to rebuy your products or they tend to be warm to it because they followed you. They've watched your stories. They look at your feed. But on Pinterest, they're not, again, really interested in you. They're interested in the benefit of what you bring. So that means when you talk about your content or you angle it, as we're going to talk about in your images and your keywords, you really want to be thinking about the benefits of what it is. So it could be how this product helped heal adult acne or eczema, or it could be how this sweater has like changed your life. And you can talk about its fit and its look and how it's perfect for the fall. Those are really great distinguishers. And one big mistake I see people making is they go in with an Instagram mindset. They start on Pinterest and they say, this doesn't work for me. I don't even like this platform. And usually that happens right about a month. And what I want to say is that the investment in Pinterest is kind of like an investment in Google or SEO. You want to be thinking of a 6 to 9 month investment because it takes a little while for Pinterest really to get the wheels moving. We like to think of it as the little engine that could. So we tell people if you're going to invest in Pinterest marketing as a part and a tool for your business, think about 6 to 9 months and really look at the analytics, which we're not going to go into today, but that's going to be your guide. I also want to say this too. Instagram has a lot of things that make you feel good, engagements, and you feel like you're doing a lot of stuff. Pinterest doesn't have a lot of that. So you can feel like what you're doing isn't going anywhere, but I promise that it will. And one of the great things about Pinterest is that once a pin gets picked up in search, it can bring traffic to your website for years. I have a pin that I pinned in 2017, and it still brings me between 500 to 1,000 sessions a month. I don't touch it, I don't do anything to it, but it's because it hit this great place in search, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So during the holidays, I want to hit this again is that people are thinking of gifts. They are thinking of decor. They are thinking of travel. They are thinking of fashion. They are thinking of baking. So there's really almost any way that you can position your content to be really, really good for Pinterest. It's just thinking about it in advance. So here's the ways that you're going to catch pinners with your content and get them to your website. First, it's images. So one of the phrases I have is that images on Pinterest are like billboard advertising. People in that main home feed, when they're scrolling, they're just scrolling by and they're looking at images. They're not reading the description below, but that's really important. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But that image is so important because it's going to hook them in. And if you haven't spent any time on Pinterest, I highly encourage you to open up your app and spend 30 minutes looking at the images that stand out to you. What catches your attention? And start to think about that from a pinner mindset instead of just a marketer mindset. So think about what you can do to capture people's attention. So we're going to talk about these images and I'll go through the details, but I want to remind you of these pieces. You want to inspire them. You don't necessarily want to interrupt them. Like you don't want to have something that's like so way out in left field, but you want to have that image that has a little bit in it that somebody goes, "Oh yeah, I could do that. I could definitely do that." Or "That's such a great idea. I want to learn more." Now, when you have these pin images on Pinterest, it's important to remember that we're consistent from the image to where they're going to your website. A lot of mistakes we see people make is they kind of disconnect the two. So they say, well, this looks like a really great Pinterest image, but it doesn't really match what people are going to see when they get to your website. One thing to note about pinners is they're very cold. There's that term cold and warm leads. Pinterest is very cold to most people. So they don't usually have a relationship with you. So your marketing from image to website really needs to draw that connection for them to tell them, "Oh, I'm in the right place. I clicked on the right pin." The other thing is a given, mobile friendly. Almost everybody is on their phone. So if you have never created a Pinterest image, one of the things that you want to do is add it to Pinterest and then look at it on your phone. Can you read it? Are your words big enough? And then really clear messaging. A trap that people can fall into is adding way too many words. Or maybe you're constricted by this idea that you have to use exactly the same phrase that you have for your product or you have for your content. It's okay to go a little bit outside of that and really talk about the benefit or just really quick poppy statement that gets people to go, "Oh, that's interesting." In fact, an example I used too is a billboard that I saw for Tuft and Needle mattresses when they were really trying to disrupt the mattress industry. This was an actual billboard that says mattress stores suck or something like that. And I was like, what? Like, that's a pretty bold statement. And all they had below was their website. And believe me, I looked it up right away. And true story, I have a Tuft and Needle mattress now. So you got to get a little bit provocative in your messaging, but make it clear enough for sure. Okay, so here's the anatomy of a Pinterest image. So, number one, the most important thing is it's a 2 to 3 ratio. So, this can be 600 by 900, 1000 by 1500. It just has to be vertical. Now, some people will ask me, hey, Kate, I only have horizontal images of my products. That's okay. You can take that horizontal image and do what we've done here by adding it to the actual image and then adding some text around it. So you want to have your logo placed in a really tasteful place. We recommend avoiding the bottom right corner. So the top is usually pretty safe. And then you want to have text overlay. That's that bottom part where you see we talk about our Simple Pin Ad Society. So we are telling them what it is and what they'll learn. They're going to learn all about Pinterest ads. And here's a great one that I like to use is the call to action, the CTA. So this can be join now if you have an email list or a webinar. If you are selling products, one of the best things you can put is shop now, because that's going to tell people that they're going to a shopping site. Or if you have videos, maybe you can say, watch the video. That's another way for people to draw that connection of what they're going to see when they come to your website. And then you want to show the product or the offer in a really front and center place. So if you are selling children's clothing and maybe it's a pin about children's sandals, I want to make sure that those sandals are up close in the image so that I know exactly what it is I'm going to be looking at. Here's some examples I'm going to walk through for you. So you can see the shop now example here on the left. It's nourish and comfort your skin. It's not even really about the product. So we've also put in there affordable plus clean skincare. We didn't say ordinary product. Sorry, we didn't even say a whole lot. The product placement really speaks for itself. And then we have the URL just tastefully in the upper right. You can see we've used the same font colors and we've used a lot of the same font too as well, and some of the design there to bring it in. And then we have the one that we just looked at in the middle. And then on the right is a free webinar. So this is something where she's going to teach how to propagate plants. So we've been very consistent here in these images too. And that's an okay thing. I get stressed out by creating Pinterest images. It's actually my least favorite part of my job. It takes me hours and I get so frustrated with it. And most of the time it ends up pretty ugly. People are kind to me and they're like, "Hey Kate, can I change that image for you?" And I know what they're saying is that doesn't look good. And so I've made a decision that Pinterest marketing is really, really important to my business so then I have to get Pinterest templates or I have to get somebody to help me make them because I am not super creative. Some of you may be, and you're going to take some inspiration from these here and do a great job. But I just want to say that for those of you who are listening, who feel very frustrated by creating images, I use Canva. I really enjoy using that tool and that program. Okay, so now we're going to get into keywords. So when I talked earlier about search, one of the things that happens on Pinterest is that people scroll, people save, and people search. And they go to the search bar at the top and they put in a phrase or a word. And Pinterest has this little drop down that gives a word prediction or search prediction so that people can see, oh, there's this phrase or there's this. And they go and they click on it and then they find more things. This is really how the algorithm works. Pinterest is a search and discovery platform. So they need keywords on your pins to be able to serve up the images to people or the content to people in their home feed. Also, when people search on Pinterest, whatever keywords they search, Pinterest takes that as a clue. They're like, oh, Susie, our pinner, she's really interested in fall fashion. So we are going to show Susie more in her home feed, that place where she scrolls, a lot of fall fashion because she just told us that she's interested. So you have a lot of stuff about fall fashion and maybe Susie clicks on it and Pinterest is like, aha, we found somebody, a creator who talks about fall fashion. We're going to match Susie and this creator up to show them more. And this only really happens through keywords. So let's break down where you add these and how you add them in. Number one is the pin title. then the pin description, then pin copy, then boards. We're going to go into this more in detail. So let's break it down. So on your images, you can certainly use keywords like I talked about earlier, how to plan your holiday marketing strategy for Pinterest. The reason being is that Pinterest also has this really cool visual search piece. So they do look at the images, or they do look at the words on the image. And then here we have a keyword in our title, and then we have a keyword in our description. So let me break it down even more. Okay. First, you want to use relevant words in your pin copy. Pin copy is what is on the image. So you can see here we have how to propagate plants. Somebody's probably going to search that exact phrase in Pinterest. And then we have a board description. So each profile has boards. And in this, you can add a name of the board, which should be very, very clear. Don't do cutesy, fancy titles. Pinterest is like, keep it real, keep it clean, keep it exactly what it is. So this is a plant care board. So you add a description to a board to describe what it is will be talked about in that board, what pins will be in there. And this is really just an algorithmic tool. This is not so much because the pinner's going to read the board description. They are not. So what you're doing is you're giving Pinterest clues about what it is you're talking about. So my board name is Plant Care. And then as you can see in the board descriptions, it's a long 2 to 3 sentences here. You can keep it there. It's very natural sounding sentences. We highly discourage keyword stuffing. You don't need to use hashtags here. They don't work. So don't put hashtags in the title of your board. Don't put hashtags in the board description. So you can see that word plant propagation is in here, the same as what's on her pin copy. Okay, the second is the title and the description. So when you upload a pin to Pinterest, just know that all of this will you'll see where to fill it out. It's not confusing at all. So the title is Learn How to Propagate Plants, free webinar. And then we go into the description of the pin. This is probably the number one place you need to keyword. If you forget to keyword a board description, we can let that go. But you can't forget to describe the pin. And this is because this is the place that makes the most impact for search and discovery. It helps tell the algorithm where to send those pins or where to show the pins to people. So as you can see, we have the words plant propagation right at the top. And then we have water propagate, we have propagate succulents. Some of these sentences will be a little bit hard to write, but what we tell people is think of it as you're texting a friend. That's it. Write it out as if you would say, hey, I'm teaching a class as to how to propagate plants, blah, 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 blah. You can see here. So we even have free training in here as well. So people are super clear. You're signing up for a class. You're not going to be reading a blog post or learning more about it. You're simply signing up for a class. Now, we tell people 2 to 3 sentences because it gives you the opportunity to make the description a little bit longer. But if you ended up with just 1 to 2, it's okay. There's no hack or like thing that says, hey, if you write 35 words as opposed to 25 words, Pinterest is going to like you more. And that's not how it works over there. So you really just need to make sure that it's fully completed and filled out, natural sounding. Now, hashtags, we do not use hashtags here. We actually don't use them at all on Pinterest. Pinterest has been a little bit fuzzy as to where they land on those. So we have landed on the side of not using them because we have seen in our data, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, but a full description for the pin does. It makes it even more impact on the platform. Okay, so here's a recap. We've got the title, we've got the description, we've got the pin copy, and we have the board. So what you can see here is this consistency of a word across all of these pieces. So we're telling the algorithm, we're talking about how to propagate plants. So if anybody on Pinterest asks those questions or puts that phrase in there or is even interested in it, we want to be first in line to have you show that to them. Okay, so now let's get into this idea of using Pinterest marketing for holiday sales and increased brand awareness. So, one of the biggest things is the 45 days in advance of the holiday. So, this is really important and it's going to be important next year too. So, let me explain. Like I said, Pinterest is very clear to say people are planning well in advance. There's people who are planning all their Christmas lists right now. Chances are they were probably even planning back in August. What we know from our data is that pinners tend to engage with Pinterest platform even more for events from August to mid February. It's what we call the high time on Pinterest because there's so many things that people are searching. So, what you want to do is if you're going to be talking about Thanksgiving, you do not want to be pinning that November 22nd. You want to be pulling that back a little bit into the end of October or even the beginning of November to talk about your decor or your recipes or even things that you sell that happen to work with Thanksgiving. Now, if you're Canadian Thanksgiving, you're going to push that back even more. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving in your country, then you're going to have to figure out the holidays and the holiday outline for when people are searching things. So, quick tip for you. Pinterest has this great tool called trends.pinterest.com. Again, it's trends.pinterest.com. And what this tool can do is in the UK, the US, and Canada, you can see the trends of searches. So if you have a particular holiday that you talk about, or you have a product that fits, you can go there and put that holiday in to see when people are searching for anything related to that particular holiday. And it will show you on a scale from 1 to 100 what the volume of searches are. It's a pretty cool tool. It's still being evolved and getting better and better, but it really is the only tool we have for Pinterest to tell us when we really have these seasonality pieces. So the biggest thing is don't pin your content to Pinterest a couple days before the event that you plan to talk about. Okay, this is another thing too that we want to discourage people. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, big sales tend to happen. Do not put a pin on Pinterest that declares a percentage off. You can definitely lead pinners to a sale page, but you don't want to be bound by a particular dollar number or a percentage. And here's why. When I talked earlier about that pin of mine, that was back in 2017, that is still bringing me all this traffic. If I had put on that pin, hey, you get 20% off of the Simple Pin Master Course, sign up now. And people were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. One, the Simple Pin Master Course doesn't even exist anymore. And number two, I wouldn't want to honor the 20% all these years later. And then people would get frustrated because they would come to this page on my website and see that the product isn't even there anymore. So, what I suggest for those of you who have products and you want to do a sale, whether digital or physical, when it comes to Pinterest, use the word sale on your Pinterest image and also in your pin description. You can say Cyber Monday sale, you can say Black Friday sale if you want, because that could be reused next year because you're not bound by it. A lot of people ask me, well, do I create a sale page on my website for products that are on sale? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very wise thing to do because what you can do is you can update the sale products that go through that page. So it's a really great way to get the consistent traffic over the years if it happens to get people landing on it. And it's a way to honor whatever sale is happening. So we recommend you change the discount number on your website on the sale page, not on the Pinterest image. Okay, a lot of people will ask me too about repurposing content from other platforms, specifically Instagram. So there's a few things I want to note. Like I talked about the differences in the beginning between Instagram and Pinterest. They're real different. Remember, pinners don't really care about you, and Instagram people want to follow everything you do. When it comes to repurposing your content, we first recommend not taking just a simple Instagram image and putting it on Pinterest. Why? Because it doesn't have any pin copy on the image and it doesn't give context. And so remember that your images on Instagram too are square, they're not vertical. So when you're repurposing content, you have to remember who you're talking to and you have to talk about the benefits of what it is your product or your content will talk about. Which on Instagram, that's really done a lot in the text below. We do read on Instagram, we don't read on Pinterest. So there's this new thing though that Pinterest had called idea pins. And I know last week when Lucy from Pinterest talked here with Planoly, presented with you, she talked a lot about idea pins. It's a new thing that's coming up with Pinterest. It's been about a year and a half in the making, and it is not like stories on Instagram. It's very different. Again, it's very tactical based. How to, benefits of, 5 ingredients to the best cocktail, or whatever it is. So if you do have some Instagram reels, or you even have Instagram stories, you can take and repurpose them to Pinterest, but you just have to make sure it's not a lot of forward facing, like you're just talking about your day or anything like that. Another thing you can do is if you have a 15-second video on Instagram that walks those people through a process or it talks about the benefits of the product, you can definitely upload that to Pinterest as a quick short video as well. You just want to be really careful that you are switching mindsets and you're going with the people who are interested in search. So idea pins as well, which again, they talked about that last week. You want to complete a lot of the keywords to the descriptions. They live forever. So while Instagram, your stories are just 24 hours, idea pins live forever. People save them, people react to them, and people comment, but they don't link. And that is a huge bummer, right? Because we are used to on Pinterest, if you've been using it for a while, you can click on an image and it goes to a website. This at the end prompts people to follow your profile on Pinterest. So we're in a little bit of a shift where Pinterest is getting a little more social, but it's really heavy on the search and discovery. Okay, so let's go back through what I talked about. So number one is really understanding Pinterest and gearing up for how you're going to use it this holiday, which is getting your content prepared now. So looking at your Pinterest images, even sitting down and looking at what type of content you're going to be putting on Pinterest. Frankly, for me, sometimes I get out a piece of paper and a pen and I just write down some ideas. I don't get too detailed into overthinking it. And this is especially true for those of you who haven't used Pinterest for a while, or you've never used it before. You're just starting to get into the groove of understanding how to do the basics, like keywords, like images. So again, that leads to keywords. You really want to make sure that your keywords are there in the pin copy, in the board description, board title, and then pin description. Those are really, really, really important. And then images. Images are that billboard advertising where people are thumbing by on their phone and you're going to catch them. And you've got that really great pin copy on there and that call to action. Another quick tip that I didn't mention is you can always use arrows. So you can have a thing that says sign up now and it has an arrow over to that button. We're primed to click on things that look like a square, that look like a button. So people tend to do that and it gets a lot of good engagement and people coming to your website. All righty. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions. So I wanted to save a lot of time for that, but you are more than welcome to learn more from me at simplepinmedia.com/start. This is our beginner sequence for people who are just getting started on Pinterest. And you can learn more about the 5 places you need to get all your Pinterest marketing set up. There's 5 videos in there. It's going to lead you through that whole process. So I'm going to stop share, and Sarah, I'm going to jump back with you. And then I'm sure we have a lot of questions that we're going to go through, and I'm ready to dive in. I saw them kind of clicking up in the box as I was going along. So happy to dive into all those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kate, for all that information. I know it was a lot of information. So I know we still have a few questions in that chat box asking for a recording. So that will be sent out to everyone who has registered following the workshop. Just so you can go back, review everything, make sure to really digest all of that really great knowledge. But yeah, we have a lot of questions to go through. If we don't get to your question today, I apologize, but we should get started. So the first one, I have a direct to consumer brand and I'm trying to figure out how to promote my brand name. Should that be in the pin title, or should the pin title be more strategic in terms such as baby gift or holiday 2021?
Yes, baby gift and holiday 2021 is great, or gift guides. Those are all also a really great strategic way to use that there. But I would say focus more on that instead of kind of the brand name of it, because especially if people don't know you super well yet, they're not going to be searching your name. They're going to be searching what it is that you talk about. And that's the perfect way to get connected with people on Pinterest.
Okay, absolutely. And then we have another question. I know you may have touched on this a little bit, but a lot of people are still kind of asking about it. Hashtags. Hashtags are a thing
Ah,
that came by a long time ago, and now we're all just kind of attached to them. So hashtags and Pinterest, something to do, something not to do.
mm.
What's the game plan there?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little history, which is going to hopefully give us some clarity.
Hmm.
Pinterest didn't have them for a very long time. August of 2019, they released them and said use 20. And then probably 6 to 8 months later, they said, oh, only use 2. And then they really fell off the map from there. And they came out actually, I want to say it was 3 to 4 months ago, and said, don't use hashtags. Like they're just not working. And then surprisingly, the other day, we saw some new materials that said it's okay to use hashtags. So I'm sure that's super clear. Where we fall for our clients is we do not use them. And that's primarily because the pinner on the platform is not trained to use them. So it's a really interesting thing that you have to think about when you hear a marketing platform talk about a tool that you can use. First, think like, oh, are all the marketers using this, or actually the people using this? People on Pinterest don't use them. They don't highlight. They are not beneficial. And what we saw people doing was they were taking and replacing a keyword with a hashtag like you do on Instagram. Don't do
Hmm.
that, because it takes away, it kills the keyword search right away.
Okay.
So my recommendation, in my professional opinion, don't use them.
Okay, that is great. Thank you so much for that little history. It definitely makes sense. I know everyone is constantly changing what they need, what they don't need. So yeah, really great to know that hashtags are just not the thing on Pinterest. And so next one we have is a little bit more about content that we're sharing. So we have people who have like one-off products. How should they go about promoting their brand, because they only have one product for a little bit of time or it sells
Mm,
out? And so now they're clicking and the product that they wanted is no longer there. So kind of like custom ceramics or different things like that. What would be the best
yeah,
strategy to still get their brand known without
right.
promoting a specific product?
Such a great question. So we have somebody in our community who actually sells wedding garters. I mean, that's a one-off, and a lot of people aren't coming back for a second one, right? So
Hmm.
we're one of the ways, and a lot of people will groan when I say this, so I'm just going to lay it out there. One of the best ways on Pinterest that we have seen getting into those products is a content marketing strategy. So you have to talk about your product. You have to talk about how to buy it, or FAQs. A framework we have at Simple Pin is called, it's our Simple Pin framework. You go through inspire, inform, and decide. Pinners move through these. They're not ready to make a decision on Pinterest, right? They're not ready to click buy right away, especially if you have a one-off product or it goes out. You want to be leading people to a blog post that talks about the common questions that you do get, or how to purchase something. What are the benefits? That's really the strategy that we would approach there with Pinterest. If people were to come to us and say, I have this one product, well, then it has to do with content marketing. It doesn't have to be a long, involved blog post of 3,000 words, but it does need to talk about how to order from you, or why to order from you, or your story and why you got into what you're doing. So this example of the garters, she really talks about like how to choose between a custom made garter or
Hmm.
a one that's just pre-made, and why the history of garters actually is what she went into as well. So I just think there's so much more you have to do to angle it a little bit, especially if you have that one-off product or it goes out of style. You're gonna have to warm people up, because
Hmm.
they're not really ready to hit the buy button at all.
Hmm. Absolutely. So kind of in that same tone, if someone has more of a service that they're offering, so they're a dining institution or things like that, how, like, would that be kind of the same strategy of talking about like content, like learnings rather than just promoting like one dish you have? Is that kind of the strategy there or something different?
Yes, that is a strategy there. And I would say, especially if you're in a location, you want to try to find a way to talk about, let's say, if it is a restaurant or something like that.
Hmm.
I'm assuming that's where you're going with that. Then you would want to get on lists of like, here's the top 5 restaurants in Portland, Oregon. And then you
Hmm.
can write that post. And if you know 4 other people you think are awesome too, put the 4 on there and then put yourself on there, because
Hmm.
people do, especially now with travel opening up post, well, not post COVID yet, but as travel opens up, you see people searching for things and they save a lot of that stuff to open up when they're in the city. Kind of like that hiking analogy.
Hmm.
People will save to their Portland, Oregon board, all these kinds of things. So that's a good way to get exposure. You can talk about the dish, but I would recommend if you did do that, you're going to have to give the recipe too,
Hmm.
because pinners are going to be searching for something. And let's say it's, chicken Parmesan and you have this amazing, take on it. Then what you're
Hmm.
going to want to do is put the recipe there, and that's going to get exposure. And you can say like, next time you're in Portland, Oregon, please come visit our restaurant and you can have this in person.
Okay. Yeah, I love that strategy there. So I think the next kind of batch of questions I'm getting a lot of is about pin boards, content, dead pins, cleaning up. So kind of
Mm.
in that, how often should you be cleaning it? Should you be cleaning it? Kind of that kind of information.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things we recommend is that if you have not cleaned up your Pinterest board, you haven't done a sweep through it, you absolutely 100% need to do that. And we start by
Hmm.
saying, what are the boards that are no longer relevant to our content? So if you talk about, animal care or animal rescue, and then you have a board about like fall fashion, your fall fashion needs to be moved to secret because
Hmm.
it's just not relevant. Like it's not what you're about anymore. So we do that first. And
Okay.
then we go through the boards that we have and we look at the titles of everything. We get very specific. I recommend doing this when you're just sitting down and watching, like you're binge watching a show on a Saturday. You can easily do it kind of mindlessly, just
Hmm.
cleaning up. Once you've done that, you really should only do it probably once a year. In fact,
Okay.
I don't do it a whole lot on my account unless
Hmm.
Pinterest comes out with a change. You can add on the top of your profile. That's a place where we see people missing these days because the profile look does change quite often. So you
Hmm.
can actually add a video, or you can add like a slow moving GIF across the screen, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily move as fast. That's what I would recommend, is at least updating your profile so that if I was to hop on to your profile today, I would know exactly what it is you do and your
Hmm.
business name and what you talk about. Those are boards and profile header, 2 most important things. And then once you do it, maybe 15 minutes a year. I don't look at mine after I set it.
Yeah, because like as time goes on, I know you've mentioned this, then boards continue to gain traction. So even if it may not be the most relevant content, it still brings them back to your profile and brings them back to learning about you, which is the ultimate goal in the end.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have just a few minutes left and we have over 50 questions. So I'm sorry if we don't get to it, but I think the next question that we will go with is video pins. So I know this is a
Ooh.
really big thing right now. It's really interesting to see video pins out there. So for video pins, is there an average time that's ideal? Kind of what's the parameters there?
Yes. So we recommend less than a minute 30. And
Okay.
it's teaser like. You can repurpose. We see some people repurposing TikToks or even short stories.
Hmm.
And I'm going to say it's a little on the line. You want to be really clear that it's, not like that TikTok environment of how we kind of get lost in it, but that it's kind of
Hmm.
a teaser to go somewhere else. A lot of people will ask me, maybe they're video creators and do longer form videos on YouTube.
Okay.
Don't put your YouTube videos on, don't upload an hour and 20-minute video
Yes.
on Pinterest.
Hmm.
The biggest thing you want to do is just have a teaser and then send them. It is clickable. It's a little bit difficult, but when they click on the link of the actual description, it can go to your website. But I wouldn't recommend leading them to YouTube or Instagram because app
Hmm.
to app is a really clunky
Yeah.
user experience and you lose people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause you have to go through like so many windows. And if you have it on your app, then it's just,
And then if you have it, they're like, do you want to install it? And I'm like, I already have it. Just,
it's like, please stop.
yes,
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely. Okay. That is great to know. So again, another question that we have is back to features of Pinterest. So we talked about hashtags, but then there's things called tags.
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit about tags? What are the
Yep.
benefits of those and how we use those?
Really, really important. Tags are really great to do. They're also another algorithmic feature to help Pinterest know where to put your content. So I
Hmm.
believe at one point there, you could use up to 20. It might be less so now, but you'll go and it'll max you out. It'll cut you off. So add just one word tags. Like if it's knitting or it could be beginners knitting. You can see what you can add in there. There is also alt tags. So
Okay.
accessibility is becoming more and more important all over
Hmm.
the internet, right? And Pinterest has just added this too. So then when you see the alt tag there, use it the same that you would on your website so that the accessibility of the readers reading that image is also there as well. But yeah,
Hmm.
add tags. You can add them to videos, you can add them to idea pins. Add them as much as you can. Now, here's to make this even more confusing. There is product tagging as well. So
Okay.
that's different.
Yeah.
Okay, so product tagging can happen on the image and you can tag your products on a regular static image. You can also tag your products on idea pins if you have a product catalog. Now,
Okay.
what I have to say about that is that the product integrations with Pinterest, with verified merchant program, with product tagging with idea pins is very clunky. And there's a lot of glitches. So if you do get into the position where you are trying to get approved for the verified merchant program, Google that, you'll walk through all the things. Just know that it is very frustrating and it's not you. You haven't done anything wrong. And you probably, you'll want to move through it, but that's another element of tagging. So we have the hashtags, don't worry about them. We have the tagging with videos and idea pins, do that. And then
Hmm.
if you have products, definitely tag your products if you can.
Okay. My
I made
goodness.
that way more confusing.
No, you're so fine. There's just so many different like little things to think about. And so I think that's really important that like we're kind of learning all of this together because if you just look at a pin, you're like, I have no idea even what to
Yeah.
think about. So that's really great to know that tags are something that's really important and good to have. So I think we're almost out of time. I have one last question for you that I saw come through, and it's kind of about timing. So
Yeah.
um you had kind of mentioned that you need some lead time, you need some time for different things. So someone was asking about holiday pins actually. So
Mhm.
really great. Holiday time is coming up. So when do you think is the best time? Do you think it's still okay to start pinning now, or do you think that we need to wait another month to start pinning? Like when do you think the window is?
Yeah. No, I actually think if you're talking about anything in Christmas, December holidays, any of
Hmm.
that, you can do that starting in July. People
Okay.
give a big pass to any kind of Christmas kind of stuff.
Hmm.
They're just like, well, sure, year round, whatever. When it comes to something like Halloween, you're definitely going to do that now, right? For
Hmm.
sure. And even Thanksgiving, you can do now. And even some seeding of Black Friday, what I
Okay.
would say is I would talk a little bit more again about the benefits. It's kind of like you're throwing darts a little bit in the beginning to see what sticks, and this is also why
Hmm.
we get there in advance. That trends tool I talked about, trends.pinterest.com,
Hmm.
so really really helpful to go look at that and see when the trend starts of the
Okay.
searches for whatever you're searching for. That's going to give
Hmm.
you a great indication. The other thing to note too is that something like Thanksgiving, if it's a recipe or decor or something that people do in the moment, what
Hmm.
you'll get is a lot of saves. So you'll get saves right up until like Tuesday of the week of Thanksgiving. And then
Hmm.
you'll see traffic just go through the roof. We see it a lot. That's actually when we see the most people going back to their boards and then
Hmm.
clicking over. Product purchases tend to be a little more trickled in throughout that 3-month season.
Okay, awesome. So time to start planning, everyone, is kind of what I'm hearing as you're
Yes.
building all of your strategies, get those pins out there. But I wish we had a whole day to talk about all of this. You have so much knowledge to share with everyone. But I think we do have to wrap it up. So thank you so much for joining us, Kate. And thank you everyone for joining Planoly Presents. It's been great to connect with all of you and to continue learning about Pinterest. So we do have 3 more workshops in this series all about content creation for Pinterest, how to schedule pins, all of these different things. So make sure to go back to Planoly Presents website so you can register for all of the upcoming workshops. And then also, as you continue to learn, make sure to go to simplepenmedia.com/start to continue to learn all about Simple Pen Media and how they can help you with your learning about your strategy as well. So I hope you all have a great day. Awesome.